And I'm like, oh my God, you're such a fucking nerd.
Captain's Pod, Stardate 81-21-33.1. Welcome aboard the Starship's Enterprise, and thank you for joining us as we take a brief shore leave from the world of CinemaSins to explore the universe of Star Trek. I'm your Captain Ian Whittington, and with me as always, she's only interested in you for your salt content. It's Ambassador Deneé.
I'm like a deer, in that way. Just
Yeah. What?
I'm more interested the saltier you are.
Is that specific to deers?
Well, there's this thing called a salt lick. Have you ever heard of that before?
No, I have not.
So this is, maybe growing up in the hunting region. I don't know. But yeah, there's this thing called a salt lick, and it literally is just a block of salt.
Right.
And they put it along like the tracks where the deers kind of come.
So how big are we talking? Like 6 foot tall?
No.
Like a pillar of salt?
No, they're like a chunk. It's like maybe the size of
Like a boulder?
Boulders come in all sizes. So I'm trying to find
boulders
something
are very
that's more
specific.
universal.
No, boulders are specific. Yeah.
That is not true.
Yeah, they're exactly 1 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot. It's fact. Yeah.
I was gonna this is so stupid. I was gonna describe it as like a shoebox size.
That's tiny. Won't they just miss it?
I mean, if it smells like salt, then no.
Right. Well, welcome to Captain's Pod. This year is going to be exclusively about hunting. That's going to be the topic that we focus on.
Do you ever feel like maybe you shouldn't give me a title explanation every week?
No, because I don't think that's addressing the problem.
There's a problem?
think that's treating the symptom, not the disease.
Is there a problem?
Nope. So we are in a fresh new year, brave new world. Not really, but we are going to continue our monster medley. Now, we have done a few episodes of TOS. We're going to be shifting gears back into the next generation, which has...
Whoa.
We have by no means done all of the monster episodes in TOS. Might be something that it'll definitely be something that we come back to eventually. But I've been itching to get back into some TNG, and the new year seems like a great way to do that. This week's episode, we are going into Season 1, Episode 25 of The Next Generation, Conspiracy. Now, it's quite handy that we're in Season 1 because this is as close to the original series as TNG gets. So it's still trying to find its feet. It's reworking kind of like a few TOS stories as well. And some of there was a TV show that was going to come after TOS called Phase 2. But they never ended up green lighting it. But some of those scripts ended up in Season 1 of TNG, which is why it feels a little bit that way. Ambassador, how do you feel about getting back into TNG?
I'm really excited. Yeah, I think I'm really enjoying the monster madness of this season.
Yeah?
And because I really do enjoy watching like the older monsters. But I don't remember TNG stuff as well. So it's kind of like, oh yeah, that was a thing one time or whatever, Because I don't remember every episode of TNG. I mostly just have the nostalgia of the characters more than I'm like a super fan. Like yourself, I could probably, name a season and an episode number and you could tell me the title. Oh, we should try that. Okay. This
is going to be pop quiz. This is how every new year should start, with an immediate Star Trek pop quiz. Thank you, Ambassador.
No,
I'm not
no pressure.
good at I will get in a range, I think.
Okay,
I
well,
might get the season right.
We're going to go Season 4.
Yeah.
Episode 8. What was the title of it?
So Season 4 starts with The Best of Both Worlds Part 2, and then Family. I think Brothers is in there somewhere.
I mean, I am impressed.
Oh, did I just do 1, 2, and 3 for
Yes,
Season 4? Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, you're such a fucking nerd.
What a fucking nerd.
Okay, carry on, go on.
Season 4 is pretty good. Ensign Rowe, I think, that might be later on. It's not Disaster. It's going to be an absolute punt. The outrageous Okona.
No, I'm going to give you a hint, though,
Yeah.
now that you've made one guess and it is incorrect. The thumbnail includes a trombone.
Includes a trombone. Future Imperfect.
Oh my God, what the fuck? Isn't that obvious? Like, is that too good of a clue?
No, it's really not. There's 2 episodes where I really remember the trombone making an appearance, and it's one called The Next Phase, which is in season 7 or season 6, one of those 2, and he's on stage and Deanna's being a dick because he's like, any requests? And Deanna's just like, Bluebird. And it's the one song he can't play, and he's like, any requests? Bluebird. And that is always in my head. And in Future Imperfect, I did 4 Trick or Triction, and I remember him teaching his son, quote unquote, how to play the trombone because he's terrible at it. Wow. And that's one of the things that gives the game away, is that he still misses this note that he should be able to hit. And he says, well, after 15 years, I should have been able to hit that note.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's how I feel about myself, with the note being life goals in general. I should have been able to hit it after this much time.
I'm the guy that can name the episode based on the thumbnail.
That's pretty impressive. You actually got the first 3 episodes completely correct. It goes Best of Both Worlds, Part 2, Family, Brothers, Suddenly Human, Remember Me, Legacy, Reunion, then Future Imperfect.
They are what an incredible run of episodes. We could just do that run and it would be so much fun. Oh boy, that's an awesome run.
But is there a monster in any of them?
The Borg.
Okay, well, they count for sure.
They count. I mean, I'm tempted just to go and do the Borg.
But I feel like we shouldn't do Borg because I've seen them before, and I'm really enjoying these sort of like just unexpected. I wasn't expecting that.
These are all monsters that you haven't seen, and I'm really excited for next week's one in particular. But I wanted to start pretty early on with TNG. So,
let's do it.
What are your predictions for Conspiracy?
Nothing.
So vague. It's so vague. Freaking vague. I love
Conspiracy. It could be so many different things. Worf is going to be there. He's probably going to he's going to be attacking, right? Like,
big prediction, Worf is going to be there.
Big prediction, Worf is going to be there and he's going to swing a weapon. That's
right. Worf is going to be there. That's your specific one. I'll give you that for your oddly specific. Worf is going to swing a weapon.
Okay. That's not really oddly specific, though. That seems pretty this seems pretty general to me.
Big is like your general prediction for what's going to happen in the episode. Like, what's the plot? What's it about?
Okay, my general prediction is that we're not going to leave the Enterprise.
Okay, well, I'm looking forward to talking about this episode. It's a fun one. We will see you all over in 10 Forward for a full debrief. Welcome to 10 Forward, the part of the show where we grab a drink from the replicator and share our immediate thoughts and feelings on the episode we just watched together. Most important question first. What's your beverage of choice if you have an appetite? Or anything from the replicator?
Nope, I'm good. I am
You good? You know
super fucking good. Yeah.
Good.
No, I'm good. Yeah.
Yeah, I want a bowl of worms.
No, you don't.
You mean the worms? They weren't appealing in the bowl? They were served up in a beautiful little bowl.
It really was a beautiful bowl. You're not wrong about that.
Lid?
With the little lid, it's with the little lid. No. Today's episode, we're recording it without a live audience, so I literally have had 12 seconds to process the end of this episode, which is gruesome. So no, I'm not hungry. I'm not thirsty. No,
Give us a plot summary then.
I'm not
What happens
hungry.
in the episode?
I'm not thirsty. Listen, in today's episode, we a lot of questionable decisions are made by the beloved TNG crew, who, for reasons completely unknown to me, decide to just take on an unknown entity entirely on their own and make poor choices over and over and over again, only to accidentally discover in the most gloomy end possible that we're fucked anyway as Earth. We're just... A beacon has been sent out, and we are...
It's the Enterprise.
We are the next meal for this tiny little mouth creature. The
Enterprise can deal with anything, okay?
Apparently. I don't know what else to say, man. Are you waiting for me to give you more?
I was the first. You know what? Did you enjoy it? What do you think about this episode? Did you enjoy it? Was it not quite for you?
My initial instinct, and I'm just now, like I said, I'm just getting out of the episode. My initial instinct is this one's not for me, and it's not because of the grossness of this monster. I think this it reminds me a lot of later Raiders of the Lost Ark kind of style.
That
where
ending. Yeah,
you sort of have this claymation horror-scape situation, which was unexpected and very gory.
Yeah, more on that later on.
We saw an open carcass with a creature inside of it. I was up until that point, I'm like, oh, these creatures are disturbing, but they're not that bad. And then all of a sudden, it's just like, what the fuck?
Then Mama Bear appears.
Apparently.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that. It wasn't like, oh, this is gross and I don't want to see this. It was mostly just kind of like the conspiracy pacing, and this episode relies on the reveals and the mystery reveals. And
for sure, yeah.
And it really just is confident to sort of set inside of that and kind of go, okay, so you don't know who's who, and it could be anybody. And there's a moment whenever, Riker has been taken by one of them, or has he, this kind of a thing. And unfortunately, and this is just my personality, this is not something that anybody could have ever predicted, but in shows like this, or like movies like this, or episodes like this, I just sort of don't pay attention too much, because eventually I'm just waiting for them to reveal it. And so I'm meant to kind of enjoy the storytelling in between then. And I don't know. It was just a little bit slow for me.
No, I actually completely agree. It's one of these weird episodes in TNG history, because it went through a few different permutations. So the original script that Roddenberry put together was this epic saga of undercover assassins, and was just way, way, way too expensive. So it got stripped down by the writer, who was, I did just look this up, Tracy Torme. Torme, I can never pronounce that right. Was basically given the job of, hey, make this not expensive. So it kind of got stripped down into just this military coup, where there's a brand of Starfleet, the military branch of Starfleet wants to take over, but then Gene Roddenberry was like, no, we're not having military coups in the future. Starfleet is united. We're not having an actual conspiracy. So,
but that's happened now since Roddenberry's passed, right? Where Starfleet was questionable.
Admirals. Yeah, you've had questionable admirals that are power mad and whatnot.
Because we saw that with what was it called? Was it the Generations movie?
Oh, no, Insurrection.
We saw it in Insurrection.
Admiral Dougherty, yeah.
Yeah.
And Starfleet are in on it. They're okay with exploiting the Baku to get the potion that they need.
Yeah, and then there's this whole how they treat androids and stuff like that. So it's not like maybe after Gene passed, they started to play around more with the format that Starfleet isn't necessarily the best.
Yeah, they felt way more free with that, especially Deep Space Nine. There's loads of questionable decisions that are made during wartime for the sake of the greater good, but he was just we're not having a military coup. Starfleet are overall the good guys. There would not be a united effort to take over the Federation. So instead they switched out with these parasites. So the plot does get a bit wishy-washy, because I completely forgot that this ties into a previous episode where Remick, who is the guy who has the alien inside him, the chest burster, he's sent to investigate the Enterprise because Quinn, the guy that beats up Riker, is suspecting that a conspiracy is happening and thinks that it's starting on the Enterprise. And I completely forgot that episode exists, because it's not a very good one, in my opinion. So
is that piggyback? Is this a sequel then to that? Because that's basically the premise of this one too, right? In a way.
Yeah. And that episode ends with, the Enterprise is in the clear. There's nothing wrong with you guys, but be careful and stay vigilant. And that's how that episode ends. And then this episode wraps that up kind of by saying it's an alien invasion, but then it doesn't go anywhere. They just they plant this seed, but it doesn't go anywhere else. That's it. They just wrap it up in this episode, and that's it.
Interesting. Okay.
So you can kind of see it's got that season 1 thing where it really, the series doesn't know what it wants to do almost. Like, they're kind of experimenting with this subplot thing that carries on. But I think the battle against the syndication thing and making sure every episode works on its own and in isolation prevented them from really diving in to making that like an ongoing theme. Like, they were going to be these aliens were going to be the big bads, but they kind of just got abandoned and left behind, and we never hear from that beacon again. Other than in a book.
Mean, that's great, but what a ominous ending to this episode.
A great ending. I love that ending. Just the beep beep in space.
It's brave and it's annoying.
Yes, especially when there is never any follow up. I remember.
Well, I mean, that's just ripe for the burrito to come take care of.
Well, yeah, and it's been followed up in a book.
Interesting.
And they do mention the parasites in Lower Decks.
Okay.
And I think Mariner or somebody says, yeah, that was just that was a myth that never actually really happened. So they have like an argument about whether the conspiracy was real or not, which is fun.
So
I can't remember what episode that's in.
If we really wanted to, recap this episode in an actual more like official kind of way, how would you kind of get somebody into this episode? How would you start to describe it? Because to me, it would be just like it's a possession episode where you don't know who is actually an alien and who is really themselves. You don't know who to trust, and that's the conspiracy element of it.
Yeah, I think I would pitch it as one of the first times in TNG that we actually go back to Starfleet headquarters. We go back to Earth.
Right.
And
that was interesting.
It's for this really ominous thing that's happening as well. And I always the hook of this episode is way better than the delivery for me, because that hook of Picard being called to a planet with 3 of the best captains in Starfleet, and they're laying the seeds of this conspiracy, that's really fun for me, and that really hooks me. But it does fall off a cliff, doesn't it? After that, when we get onto the ship, it's kind of 25 minutes of what's going on at Starfleet.
Yeah, it really was. It was like we're gonna show how this is being solved in real time. They really didn't. What's the word?
There's not a lot of clues.
Yeah, it's a lot of like, even what Data finds, which is that they're replacing personnel. In my head, I'm thinking, I mean, that could have an explanation. You just don't have the clearance to figure it out. But then, of course, it's all it's an actual legitimate concern. So we get to see that all being revealed. But, even that it's so creepy and strange, because the reveal is whenever worms are served. Like, they're just very, very cocky, these aliens,
I have so many sins about that. The alien plan is so bad.
It seems to fall apart, and I haven't had a time to just genuinely think about it too much, but in my notes while watching this episode, I just kept thinking there's a lot of really terrible decisions being made.
All around.
All around. From the perspective of these aliens who've taken over these bodies. If you know that you have one mother host, that if they die, everyone dies, you would have so much security around them after
don't leave them alone
an investment of all this time. There's so many questions that I'm coming up with in my mind now. But the pacing for me kind of shifted out in like, well, what is this episode going to be about? Because it's really not a creature reveal until quite a bit in towards the conclusion of this episode. And so most of this episode is spent on the Enterprise, talking about the possibilities of, I don't know, we did go to different places. We went to the Red Planet, we went back to Earth. We never did make it to Pacifica.
No. I mean, it opens with the classic, we're going on shore leave, we're going to have a great time, we're looking forward to it. No, you're not.
No, you're not. Nope. It would be funny if there is an episode about Pacifica and because they didn't show up, like what happened because of that.
Oh my goodness, funny. Yeah, some natural disaster happened.
Yeah.
So we kind of drift into horror a little bit with this. Did you feel that shift in tone from regular TNG into a very spooky, like paranoid thriller kind of vibe for the episode? Because even like when he goes to Ditalex 3 or whatever it is and meets the other captains, that's a very spooky planet. The score is very spooky.
Yeah.
Did it feel odd to how you usually feel in TNG?
Yeah, I
It's something
definitely
I
felt
noticed
that,
the
and
most.
I wrote that down too. It's pretty evident that they're going for like the mystery element and the spooky element, because the music, of course, is very giving and telling of like what they're going for, and so you're not. I'm not really settled in. I kept thinking, okay, so I know that the Enterprise has been traveling for a while, so no one on the ship should have this. And then they do the dumbest thing ever, and then they invite people onto their ship, and then they really just, these aliens just give it all away, so fast.
They really do.
And it's important because the show has to end. Like we can't, the episode can't last forever. But.
It's a grand conspiracy that gets wrapped up in minutes. And I think the concept is almost too big for this episode. Like, it's too much to have it fully explained and resolved in 45 minutes.
Well, and I find myself going, okay, so it's interesting because Beverly Crusher was the intended target of this alien species, and then there's also like this interest in, like Beverly is, what's the word? Has this friendship, with this person that ends up dying.
Yeah, with Walker.
Yeah. And so how would I shift this episode? Take all that stuff out. The backstory of Beverly Crusher and her love of this character and the friendship that they had. That was probably about 5 minutes of time that we really probably didn't need to know the depth of that character. But I like it being in there. But then watching the rest of it, we needed to get to the alien battle a little bit faster. Like,
yeah,
we needed to have more of this episode needed our crew cleverly figuring out how they're going to take down these creatures without hurting someone, and all that just was a very convenient end. It all just sort of conveniently yeah, you fire to kill, and then once the host is stung, the creature crawls out of the mouth and moves on, and so it ends up being a very easily defeated enemy, and it kind of subverts this idea that they're really dangerous, because wouldn't this creature to have more of an, like they have super strength, like,
yeah,
why aren't they so easily able to overcome Picard and Riker, send them back to the Enterprise with this thing, and then spend a couple episodes of the season, get stupid brave, Of course you can't do that because it's all like one episode, right?
Yeah. I mean,
they don't.
This could have been like the game when Riker brings the headset back to the Enterprise and takes over everyone. Parasites take over the Enterprise, and the few remaining crew members have to fight them off. I agree. That's way more.
Could be
I
fun.
think that'd be way more interesting. Yeah.
But there's like a little lag in the way that the reveal at the end. It's almost like, okay, why are we eating bugs? Why is everything so casual? Why is Picard just now thinking about backing away?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think it's meant to be like a game of poker. Like, it's bluffing. Like,
right.
Picard's
yeah.
I know, but do they know I know? And the aliens are like, Picard knows, but does Picard know that we know that he knows? And does he know that they know that we know? Until they decide to reveal the bugs. And it's like, well, if you're just going to reveal it, then subdue him. Like, shoot Picard. I guess they don't know how dangerous he is, but they know how important the Enterprise is to their plan.
Yeah.
So, like,
they did talk about like
quicker.
being a love of theatrics, though, and that's obviously really true. But
we would send the writers we don't believe that the parasites actually care about theatrics.
Probably not. I wouldn't think so. I would think like they said, like, we would make such a great pair. Wouldn't it be interesting if they had that textbook TNG philosophical conversation about uniting together, these two things, but it's just, it all ends so quickly. Like,
Picard should be explaining why we want our freedom and why we won't accept being a host.
What if they had just shot the creepy creatures that are crawling out of the mouths at the dinner, and they get back up onto the Enterprise, they get their team together to put the beautiful minds all on this project, and then it's all about finding the mother, like figuring out I don't know, it feels like there is something I wanted a little bit more monster, but
yes.
Like that way the end was even more of a, because it just came out of left field, like that was
Okay, well, let's talk about it. So they go into Everything's been revealed. They've all started attacking each other. They're chasing the Admiral. They run into this room and Remick is sat in a chair. Open phasers, just fire. Chest bursts open, screaming
Head
alien
explodes.
chest burster thing. Remick's head explodes. Alien explodes out of his chest. Picard and Riker just do a sideways glance and then continue to fire at it. Your expression was incredible.
Oh no.
It was quite a surprise.
You were watching me and not the show. That's
100%. I've seen that scene so many times. Your eyes just went completely wide and were just like, what the fuck is happening here?
It was so crazy. I did not.
Were you really shocked?
I mean, yeah. I didn't expect to see ribcage in my TNG.
It's incredible, isn't it? And TNG never goes back to that. This episode won an Emmy for makeup and design and like special effects in terms of design. It like the creature stuff there is so good. But it's like just not very TNG, is it?
No, it's definitely not TNG. It is straight up horror. And what's sad is to have this like straight up horror moment and never come back to this creature again, you know?
Never come back to it. The BBC actually censored the last few minutes of this episode. I think they show him getting shot and then cut away from it and just go to them on the bridge, mission accomplished. They didn't show Remick getting killed on TV.
I mean, God, leave it up to America to show this to the children.
Yes.
Because there are children watching.
For me, it's always been shocking, especially when he gets shot in the head. Because I'm like, Riker and Picard, you don't have to go for a headshot.
They don't. But my assumption, and it was probably the wrong assumption, but my assumption was that the phaser fire became too, I don't know what the word would be here.
Hot?
Yeah, like it sort of ignited. It seemed like more of a combustion reaction to the pressure of everything. I don't know.
It's really dark.
Because it's like they shot him and then it just sort of like all of a sudden they have to keep firing because this is like the power creature. And then his fucking head pops open and it does the thing where you see the big white eyeballs before the eyeballs explode, but it's just a split second. And if you were to go frame by frame, I'm sure this looks ridiculous, but then it has all the things that just like pop off the skin that flies around. So now we're talking about like a gruesome
big
body explosion thing. Oh, but they're not done yet. You know, they're not done yet. No. The body cavity begins to heat away and then reveals this gloopy, bulbous, beige, wormy thing, which is not at all what the babies look like. So
no, totally different.
I wasn't prepared. Like they had been preparing me for this sort of pincher-looking scorpion monster, but here we see that Mama is actually a grub,
a xenomorph from Aliens. This
very goopy thing that is essentially saying, feed me, you know, just
Mama.
And then it like blows up and we see the scattering of its babies.
Yeah, that's pretty grim.
And that link apparently, you know, affects everything else.
You said apparently, but I think you meant conveniently.
Yeah. I said conveniently incorrectly.
Captain's log. Everything's fine now. I guess that worked out fine. That's great.
I feel like we're missing the most important part of this episode, though.
Which is?
That swimming is too much like bathing.
It really is.
That really is something I forgot about the Klingon race in general, is that
they smell.
They don't like to bathe, you know.
No.
They like to have that.
Well, it washes up all of those ridges, and then it's something that happened in TOS. They stopped bathing, and it meant that they could keep the ridges on. During TOS, they kept having showers, which is why they don't have ridges. They kept getting washed away. There's a couple of little nubbins in this episode that I really like, and they basically revolve around Data, even though he's not in it very much.
Oh, I love the Data stuff in this episode, yeah.
Data stuff is so... Tell me what you loved.
No, you go on.
Oh, well... I mean, obviously, the laughing at the beginning is much fun. Just simulated laugh.
The immobile facial expression, it's just his mouth is open and then he's like, And there's like no facial expression at all. I don't even think there was that much emphasis, like
just exhaling, forcing it out.
Yeah, I really loved that, and I can imagine that he's discovering this unique character, week to week and up in season 1. And the crew is discovering their love of the character, because it cuts over to Riker and Deanna and they're just like cracking up. And I expect that was kind of genuine at times on set.
We don't know what Spiner's going to do next.
I also love seeing LaForge and Data and their friendship, because I don't know that I picked up on that necessarily when I watched it when I was younger, because I was just sort of the nuance of friendship and things like that. I don't know that was something I really easily recognized, and maybe they didn't really push it too much, but then it became more obvious when we were talking about Picard, and when we kind of looked back and started watching the TNG episodes earlier in the Captain's Pod episodes. I was like, oh yeah, they are friends, and I don't know why that friendship was lost on me, but seeing it here in this episode, how LaForge is sort of just chatting it up with them, and
it's pretty clear from day one. Like, they set that pretty deliberately from season 1. I love it.
Which I didn't watch it in order. I watched whatever was on TV.
Yeah.
And I don't remember when that would have even started for me, like what season I came in on. I have no recollection of that. But you're right. Watching back, it is pretty clear. And I love that LaForge befriends Data. He doesn't treat him like an android.
Oh, he's just telling him a joke
like
as if he's going to get it, and as if it's just his human buddy. And then, it's definitely a penis joke. It's definitely a joke about sex not working in space, right?
I mean, I assume so.
Jordy's got all the good jokes.
And then the other, Data moments for me that's really fun. I think it's pretty cool to see him absorbing a lot of information in his eyes. That the show is doing a good job of telling us that this character is really unique in that way.
Well, that's one of my favorite. It's one of the highlights of the episode for me, because it's using Data exactly how an android should be used. So you may just ask, well, why don't you just ask the computer to compile this information? Because computers, as far as we know at current as standard, are great at like collecting information and saying, here's all of the info, here's the facts, here's the figures, here's what happened when. But androids, and with that extra like kind of neural net stuff going on, can make the connections and can see the patterns that humans can see. So it's incredible to ask Data to get all of this information, all of Starfleet's orders, and find the pattern. Like, if he'd have just been used to collect the data, that's pointless. Get the computer to do that. But asking him to find what's up and find the conspiracy, it shows a really cool understanding of why you'd want an android compared to a computer. And I'm just like, yes, Star Trek, you get it. You get why you'd want an android. It's really smart.
I think that the episode needs it, because then it would just be a conspiracy on conspiracy episode. This is the only quote unquote fact-based information that we have going into this strong assumption that there's something going on back on Earth, and the only thing that we really can do is just go investigate it ourselves and beam over our only captain.
Into the sins for that.
Just like, let's just let this makes sense. Let's just do that. But the only confidence that we have to stand on are two things, right? What Data discovers, which is this really curious pattern that seems to be very suspicious. And then second, that the ship explodes. The Horatio explodes, meaning that this Walker person may have been onto something and is now dead. That's a pretty big moment for me going, you could be setting up this episode so that everybody's just paranoid and no one knows what's going on. We don't. Yeah. Because the way that the first part is played off, it could be either way. These people could completely be insane.
They could be the aliens.
Right. Or they're trying to tell the truth in this way. And if they're actually trying to tell the truth, this sort of suspicious whisper as he leaves, just watch your back.
What was the point in that?
Don't trust anyone, like
I'm sounding really evil right now. Don't trust me, I'm evil. But he's not. Yeah. It's so confusing.
Yeah, it's purposefully causing confusion. And that's fine, but most of the episode doesn't have any like real substance to it until, like, honestly, I wasn't really on board. And even I'm seeing the little alien creature and Quinn is bringing over the next little brother or whatever. I mean, can we talk about their birthing process? How are these people made? Do they have their own individual personalities? Like that. This is something we need to know more about. Is it in the book or something?
No, I mean, not that I know it gets, their mission gets explained in a book, but I don't know if that book dives into personalities and whatnot. But I think they do, because
it sounded like
the other admiral says you were meant for the Doctor. So I think there is personality to them.
And then that one who is not actually a creature, it's just a fake out, but still that one's like, like, sorry, plans changed. And then I can easily see everyone being like, Carl,
But they should have given Riker the quiz. When Riker has is pretending to have the alien, they should. So, what was the first butterfly that you ate, and where did you meet them?
Right.
When did that happen?
Yeah, there is a lot of curiosity there. I forgot what I was saying though.
The reproductive system of the bugs.
That was my side. That was my bunny trail. It just popped into my head.
Backpedal.
Anyway, I just think like as far as factual based information, we didn't have a lot before. We're just jumping kind of to the end. And that's what it was. The appearance of those creatures is like, okay, now I know for sure that there's something going on. But even when Quinn showed up to the Enterprise with it, I wasn't sure if Quinn was one or if he's just a patsy for this stuff. Maybe Quinn is actually Quinn, and this is just something that he's going to show them, and then it takes over. You never know what's going to happen with this stuff.
And even Picard is just basing it on, I know that's not Quinn. Riker's like, how do you know? And he's like, I know. They're still all basing it on very, very little. Yeah. The more Star Trek ending might have been that there is no conspiracy, and that the original 3 captains were wrong and everything was coincidence. Like, the moral at the end of the story might have been, don't read into conspiracies, wait until you have more evidence, and Picard's the one that exposes there is no conspiracy, you're all just being paranoid.
But then we wouldn't have anybody bust out of a chest,
Yeah, that's fair. You wouldn't have been able to phaser anybody in the face. That's the Star Trek ending, is having Picard and Riker shoot a man in the face with a phaser. It's the weirdest bit of the episode for me. It's the least Picard thing I think I've seen happen. Like, he's dealt with evil people and evil aliens and bad guys, and it felt really strange to just vaporize Remick.
Yeah, it felt like, I think that the episode was making an attempt to say, I think what the episode was doing was saying, like, it gave the alien mama a moment to sort of dialogue a bit, and for there to be this comfort with us, the viewer, and our beloved Picard.
We desire peaceful coexistence.
To say, okay, we're going to go ahead and kill you anyway.
This is fine.
But here's an interesting thought, though. Let's say that they do want a peaceful existence. But it just sounded evil because they don't know how to operate throat muscles. There's a lot going on in that guy's throat. We saw it. There's just balloons expanding. There's one spine for many creatures. There's a lot going on in this human body.
It's been a stressful day.
There's so much room for miscommunication here. And if this was a alien species that really wanted to have peace and not domination, there really wasn't a ton of inquiry about that. It's just like no, you took over our bodies, we're going to kill you, which I honestly
get it. Yeah,
I would do the same thing.
Get it. I'd zap them, but I'm not Picard.
Exactly. Picard would have a conversation,
especially since they know they have the upper hand. Like, they know phasers work. They are in the seat of power here. Like, you shoot to kill because you're out of options. Like, I feel like force fields were an option, or like transporters, beam them up, put them in stasis. Like, the phasering at the end feels very not Star Trek-y.
And neither does the horror, but you know what? That's what we did. We're doing that thing.
Yeah, we did some body horror.
At what point did you know that Riker was really Riker? Do you remember?
It had me convinced, because it's so hard because I was so young when I first watched it. So I was convinced all the way through to the end that he was an alien, and Picard's just got to figure this out on his own. So when he pulls his phaser out, I'm like, yay, it's not him. Yay, it's Riker. Woo.
That was a fun moment of the episode.
Yeah. Did it have you fooled?
Yes, I was fooled.
Nice.
And it's a sneaky fooling, though, because Riker wakes up and then aggressively touches Beverly. So it's certainly tricksy. It was designed to make us feel some kind of a way. And so that's when we assume that Riker has been taken over by the alien. It also means that there was still one of those things on board the ship.
What do you mean?
Well, the one in the case was supposed to be put in Riker, but Riker was faking it. So they still have one. So it's kind of like a tribble. We just don't know what's going on with that.
We assume they all died.
We think that they're all
died,
dead.
But yeah.
Maybe that's how they knew.
Bring them back.
Is that they found the briefcase and it's just sort of rotting inside.
Yeah, just dissolved.
I do like that they created like a little carrier for it with so that it was cushioned.
It's kind of cute, isn't it?
I imagine that they had a conversation about it. Guys, this is really uncomfortable to travel from point A to point B. Can I at least have some fucking cushion?
They have this really cool thing. It's called foam. And I think we should use it. I rattle around in these cases too much.
So I did think that Riker had been, infected, and then he shows up and he's like, you're not going anywhere. And he really gives into it, which is great because the Picard doesn't know. And Picard's like, fuck, I'm in trouble. I am really in trouble right now. So I didn't know until the guy says, eat, brother. And then the camera comes over to Riker. And my mind is thinking, we've seen a lot of people grossly eat bugs. There is no reason for this episode to show us more gross bug eating. Like, pad the runtime situation. I was getting a little bit annoyed. Because
unless we know that it's to make Riker do something gross or to prove one way or the other. Yeah.
And so then I thought, it's because he's going to eat it, and let's say that someone back on the Enterprise is watching and they're all just holding their breath going, is he going to pull it off? And they all know he is totally human having to eat bugs. They're like,
this is the worst.
So that's what I realized was the fun of that moment for the people who are making it, is that they knew. So it was kind of like, if you know he's not really himself, this is extra fun.
That's clever. Yeah,
and
that's a good way to figure it out.
That's when I figured it out, and it was a split second before. And then, of course, it pans to his phaser, and I thought, and then right then,
there we go.
That's Riker, and we have our nice little dinner battle.
Race towards the end, yeah. So there was one other thing with Data that I really enjoyed, and it's just this little aside with the computer.
Wasn't that lovely?
It's amazing.
It's so funny.
Data is so proud that he's talking to himself because there's no function to it.
By it, isn't he?
Yeah, he's like, I'm doing it. I'm emulating humans. And then he starts explaining it, and the computer is just so politely like, I get it. I get it. I get what you meant. And his little feelings are hurt, even though he doesn't have any.
It's so funny. It's such a great sort of him thinking, I'm being impacted by the humans around me, and I'm monologuing while I work. Like, I'm dialoguing out loud. And then he explains it so perfectly. I love how they write Data's revelations.
It's great. How he's describing the planet as well. A useless heap of junk. And Void is like, okay, Data, we get it.
Yeah, but even just like, why do we talk out loud? Those are the moments that I really enjoy in TNG, or really any content, where we just take a deep dive into something so simple as to why we dialogue. Why do we talk to ourselves while we work?
It could be to reassure ourselves. It could be senility.
And it's such a great little moment where he's so proud of himself for being more human-like. And then, of course, the voice of the computer I have come to really enjoy, because I know where that comes from now.
It's amazing.
I thought that was a funny kind of back and forth where the computer's like, no, I get it. Can you get back to the point? And Data's just, okay, fine. Yes, like, give me more information.
Continue read back. Thank you, Grumpy. So, how did you feel about the fight scene? So we get a good fight scene between Quinn and Riker, then Quinn and Worf, Quinn and Geordi, Quinn and Beverly, with some high kicks and stunt doubles. Was it a distracting scene, or were you just like, it's the 80s, it's fine?
So, first of all, this is when I realized that one of my predictions was pretty accurate. Like, we do get to see Worf go to battle. But it is disappointing. And here's why it's disappointing. I think that a lot of the battles in this episode were disappointing to me. And I know we're kind of blending our sins and stuff as we go, but it surprises me. Part of it feels a bit like production says, we're gonna have a fight scene now, and everyone says, okay, we know what to do. We're gonna throw some punches and some kicks, and we're gonna fly over something, and that's what we're gonna do. And does it have to make sense to the characters, the moment, the protocol? No, we just want to give the audience a fist fight, and so this just felt like a fist fight. So it wasn't distracting as much as it was frustrating for me, because I mean, these people are just getting knocked out.
Yeah.
Worf is taken down so fast, and I did not like that. If Worf is getting taken out this quickly, Riker should have been down with a nose flick.
Murdered.
You know, just...
Riker should be murdered. He should be dead.
Is thrown through metal doors and sustains no injury.
Yes. But I do love it because it's so rare that you see the doors get damaged and they just get yeeted off of their hinges. I guess they're not on hinges.
He's able to walk away, you know? And Worf is he's just knocked unconscious by like a table toss.
Worf gets his butt handed to him in a lot of the early seasons. Like, he was just a rag doll. He didn't get treated like a true Klingon until later on.
And thankfully, I've gotten to see him in Picard, and that was all redeemed.
Oh my goodness, decapitating a Ferengi. Yeah,
so
spoilers.
fucking great. So that's my Worf. Here I'm like, oh, really? And then I have to say, oh, it's this alien that has somehow fortified the bone structure of the human host that it is inside of.
But somehow Riker put up a bigger fight.
Manifest these superhuman things that are going on that we shouldn't be able to do. So yeah, I was distracted by that more than I was distracted by the high kicks. But let's just talk about high kicks for a second.
It's impressive.
Dexterity.
Yeah.
Loose hips.
Riker's got it.
I would have thought that maybe they would have been like a little tight, but no, this is
nope. He's got a ballet dancer's legs.
I have nothing against Taekwondo, just for the record.
But
I shouldn't say nothing. I haven't done enough research to be able to say that strongly.
Okay.
I don't think I have anything that's just like, super against it, right? Though.
Just instinctually, yeah.
I studied Kenpo, so I'm gonna use my personal knowledge to just say that if you want to make physical contact with someone's face to cause damage, harm, defense, whatever your purpose is, your hands are closer than your foot.
Always. Correct.
Just always.
And less likely to throw you off balance.
Unless you're like grappling on the ground and you happen to be like in the 69 position, then maybe your foot's a little closer potentially.
Yeah, or unless you're fighting a 6-year-old or something.
Correct.
They're closer to the ground. Yeah.
Yeah. But if you're squared off against another adult, there's and you're standing on your 2 feet, gravity is in effect. Yeah. There is like a 99.9% chance that your hands are the closest thing to their face. So
and on Worf's behalf, his head is always closer, and he's got the ridges. Always running head first.
Bone ridge someone. Yeah. Just bone ridge them.
How did you get that scar? I got bone ridged.
Like every enemy of Worf should just have this indentation on their forehead. Oh, I see what's happened to you. Yep. You've been bonked by a Klingon.
Walk into sick bay and Beverly's got, we've got another Worf.
God damn it,
You must
Worf.
have pissed him off. I had my performance evaluation today.
You ridged
me.
I was surprised by the amount of kicks that were happening. I feel like that is for show. It is not for just... And it is. It's for show, and it looks really interesting.
It stands out particularly because we never see Riker fight this way again. It's one and done. He decides, you know what? Kicking didn't work for me. I'm never going to do it again.
The stunt double on set that day was a ballet dancer / Taekwondo loving man, and that is how that happened. And am I happy for it? Fuck yeah, I am. I love seeing stupid stuff. Like that TOS bar fight on the Tribble episode.
Still thinking about it. I love it.
Is so great. And it went on for so long, and we just don't see that anymore.
So long. No.
Now we see palm strikes to the nose that burst a nose open, and like we see actual fighting now.
Yeah.
Rather than the show fighting.
Second. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not as this intricate ballet of
Yeah, and tables knock you out. Getting thrown over a desk knocks you out. A lot of stuff
Glass
knocks
is always
you out.
Shattered somewhere.
But the most important thing is that Beverly just fucking kills it. I love it. I'm just
that's the best part. Beverly just walking in with a phaser, just like, nah, fuck that.
Yeah, she doesn't even say anything. She's just like, nope. And I love that so much. That kind of like, I don't even need to have a conversation. I'm going to take you down is what we need in this episode.
It's what Worf should have done. Worf should have gone in there with a phaser. Why does the Doctor have a phaser?
Why are you going into? Well, I guess they did show up in the room, and then there's like this ruse of whether Quinn is actually human or not. So yeah.
But
I'm not quite sure.
I do love that. Because you see the phaser burst first, and then you see it's Beverly, and you're like, yeah, get it,
I
Bev.
love that it was Beverly. That made
So
me
good.
super fucking happy.
Mm-hmm.
If it wasn't going to be Beverly, who else should it have been?
I mean, Deanna, but that would have meant giving her something to do, and we just don't. That's not the Star Trek thing to do. Data would have been. It's always fun when Data turns up, but also Data doesn't need a phaser. Data should have been there and snapped his arm.
Data should have been the one to go down there because he doesn't have any anatomy with which to suck blood
But
from.
then why you ever?
Not that
They
they're
don't.
sucking
I guess
blood,
they don't know that yet. And why would you
Yeah,
ever
that's
send
true.
Worf when Data's an option? Like Data must make everybody feel bad at their jobs.
Well, yeah.
You're
Data
just
makes
gonna
me
be
feel
better.
bad at my job.
Yeah, that's fair. Me too. Okay, well, I think that's that covered. Overall, Ambassador, now that you've had a little bit of time to think about it, how many pips out of 4 is conspiracy getting?
Probably 2.
I'm with you. It's a solid
Yeah.
2 pips. It's not terrible, but it's not one I come back to a lot.
It might be 1.5. It could be a 1. I don't know. I don't know when it's going to be a 1. The only thing that pops this up to a 2 is the absolute shock and horror of the end of this episode.
Completely agree. That's exactly what I was going to say. The reason I picked this episode is because it's kind of early in TNG, and we don't get to see that a lot. And just the interestingness of how much of a shift out of the genre the ending is, and just the novelty that we never get to see it again. Like, this is a laying the foundation for a conspiracy that could have come back, one of the few episodes of a cliffhanger that never gets addressed again. So it's just an interesting piece of Star Trek history that gets referenced a lot.
Yeah.
Not
Well,
often you see
now
the
I've
chest
seen it.
bursters.
Now I know.
Now you've done it.
What is the creature called?
No idea. We don't get told.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Not kidding you.
Oh,
So
that's awful.
in the book, there's a race called the Iconians who we do see in an episode of Star Trek. They're the ones with the window that you can walk through, and it has like different points in the galaxy, and then Picard walks through it and ends up on a Romulan ship. I think we haven't done an episode on it, but I think we've watched it. And apparently the Iconians sent these parasites out as a way of colonizing people. But that's not actually happened on a TV show. We don't know what they're called.
I'm going to Memory Alpha real quick, okay?
Go for it. I could be wrong, but I don't think in canon they have a name. They're just the parasites.
The parasitic being, as it was called by Dr. Crusher, was described in the final draft of the script as quote-unquote looking something like an oversized silverfish, which it did.
Yeah.
Later in the script, it was also described as, quote, strange insect-like animal. The mother creature, as it was called by Captain Picard, was described in the final draft of the script as being a, quote, dull yellow looking like a cross between a parasite and a human fetus.
Oh, God.
It was
Mission
also
accomplished.
described as a fetus creature.
Oh, it's so grim.
Oh, my God. The Star Trek Chronology 2nd edition, page 290, noted that although Picard and company were successful in eradicating them, the parasites did send a mysterious radio signal, presumably to others of their kind, at the time the episode was written. This was apparently intended to lead to the introduction of the Borg in Star Trek: The Next Generation's second season. The Borg connection was dropped before Q Who was written, and the truth about the parasites remains a mystery.
Yeah.
Gross. And they're just continuing to call them the parasites, but then down at the bottom in the game, under the games section, the CCG All Good Things expansion for Star Trek customizable card game gives their species name as bluegill. In Star Trek Online, these parasites called the bluegills were bioengineered by the Solonei on behalf of the Iconians. The Iconians used the bluegills to elicit the aid of the Vadwir.
The Vadwar.
Vadwar.
Oh, that's a Voyager bad guy.
Helping them become a feared power in the Delta Quadrant in exchange for the bluegills taking possession of the Vadwar leadership.
Interesting. Yeah,
the
that
mission
checks out.
Uneasy Allies establishes that Trill physiology was very resistant against the parasites, giving them a much better chance of surviving possession. Joined Trills were said to be immune thanks to their symbiont.
Yeah, so none of that is canon, but it all makes sense. That would be really cool if that was the actual answer.
That was in the game section of MemoryAlphaFandom.com. Thank you again, MemoryAlphaFandom.com, for sponsoring today's episode.
We wish. So at the end of the episode, Riker says it was Beverly's idea to have a fake bluegill on the back of his neck. So I think that's just colloquially what they're called.
Makes sense.
Very interesting. Cool.
And this is why I thank you guys for letting me Google on the fly.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, with that, let's do some sins. Battle stations, everyone. Red alert.
Warning. Warp core collapse in 10 seconds.
This is the part of the show where we re-engage our sin brains, remind ourselves that no TV shows without sin, even our beloved Star Trek. Now, with these type of sometimes shaky episodes, we've often covered a lot of sins, but there are some specific stuff that I wanted to talk about. But would you like to go first?
Yeah, I think I want to start with something that just popped into my mind while I was watching this episode, and it's when Deanna is talking about sensing the intention.
Oh,
and
yeah, 100%. You're there. You've got it. I will not take any shit for giving Deanna shit because they wrote her terribly.
Yeah.
Have you got the line?
I think I've got it. Someone is hiding something, but I can't tell who or what.
It's the worst. It's
what?
Why are you here?
Why? I
know that.
That is true for
everybody.
And how do you know that it's coming from that specific place? Like
I'm hiding that I need to fart right now. It doesn't mean anything.
How is she able to sense what she sees on screen that's on Earth so far away? Is it just so she can read maybe the visually a little bit, like because she has some sort of connection with them? I believe in the space around her, she probably would be insanely accurate, but I'm realizing how much is of her watching on screen. And I'm like, holy shit, her powers are fucking incredible.
What blows your mind is that, when they give you one of the episodes where they'll say, oh, this communication is coming from 10 light years away, and then she gets a read on someone, and like, okay, yeah, they're on screen, but they're still 10 light years away. How are you doing this?
They're so far. Yeah, how is she doing it is a great question, but then right piggybacked on that for me is this kind of a read is like whenever I want to talk to somebody who can quote unquote read my palm or read the future and it's like you're saying the most generic stuff. I could deduce anything from it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah,
I would be great at palm reading.
It would have been really cool if she was to say, I'm sensing some conflict, specifically coming from this person.
Yeah, single it down to a person.
Something that could be a good clue for later, I don't know.
There's any number of ways to do it because what they're scared of is giving away the plot. Like when you have somebody that's telepathic on the bridge, you immediately have to explain away why secrets aren't being revealed and why stuff isn't being... You write yourself into a corner. Now they tone that down by specifying that Deanna can only sense strong feelings and emotions. She can't read thoughts unless it's another Beta Z. She can't get into the depths of somebody's mind. She just gets their emotional well-being.
Yeah.
But they don't even use that. Like tell me, he's feeling anxious. He's super paranoid. This guy is super confident. Give me the feelings because that still doesn't tell me the mystery, but it confirms like data and analysis that there is something sketchy going on. You don't have to make her completely useless. Somebody is hiding something and I can't tell who or what. Don't even be in the room. What are you doing? How does anybody have a straight face?
It was very generic, and that was my first, major sin. Yeah.
I want everyone to look, everyone on the bridge.
Everyone should be like, oh, is that about me?
Should look at her and just be like, oh, no, that's me. You're picking up on me. I'm sorry.
Oh, shit, I'm too close.
Them.
This is why no one wants to be friends with her.
It's egregious. It's so bad. My biggest one, and this is a big one. How does nobody notice the spike? Because it's not in the hairline. Like, they move Quinn's hair a little bit. Riker's isn't in the hairline. And when you look at everybody else's, it isn't there. It doesn't, hide it somewhere better. Like, Beverly even says, it should be visible on anybody with a parasite. This was never a conspiracy. Everybody knows about this spike. They're just choosing to ignore it.
Yeah. It was so uncomfortable.
Obvious. Yeah.
Let me jump up to one of mine. I've got some questions too that I'm finding. I think one of the sins, I'm still kind of trying to go through the plot of this one in my brain and sort of suss out where the bad guy's plan kind of falls apart. But now we know that initial meeting on the mining planet was one of the moles was there too. And to your point, would have had a very obvious thing jutting out of their neck. But anyway, so unless she got after that, but the idea was that she was because it was like a reveal that Captain Scott or whatever was it, Captain Scott?
Captain Scott. Yeah, it's possible that at the time of the meeting she hasn't been got, but somebody on her crew did get her after the meeting. That's not specified, but I think revealing it that way makes me think she was in on it all along, and might be the reason that the Horatio was destroyed, because she knew that they were onto them. Yeah,
that's the impression I got as well. You know, like she was in on it. This is how, and they were even saying, that we know the plan. You thought that you were ahead, but we were really ahead of you, sort of. Vibe. Anyway, so if she knew about it all along, I guess the idea is that the trap has been set for Picard, and it doesn't matter what their ship is doing, but immediately Picard tells everybody. Well, he tells Deanna, and then he tells his crew, then he tells Riker, and then he tells the crew, and Data is doing like a public search of all of the special Starfleet things. And I would think that would have given some kind of a red flag to the people at Starfleet who are attempting to be extremely covert, this thing that they're doing. Like, they should have almost been able to read the records of what Data was doing and figure out that they were figuring it out. Now, at the end, they're thinking, oh, it doesn't matter because we knew all along that you were going to come here into our trap. But that's just because the plot made that be so. Like, they could have done so many other things besides just go back to Earth and plant themselves directly in the middle of this bullshit.
Yeah.
So
that might actually be my biggest sin overall, is the fact that when Riker says, well, what do you expect us to do? Just go to Starfleet and say, what's up? And Data's like, why not? And Picard is like, why not?
Why not?
Because it's a terrible dumbass. That's what you do when you know you have 40 minutes to solve the puzzle. It's not when you're playing a long game. These guys have been doing this for months. They are moving little pawns and chess pieces around. The worst thing you can do is confront them and expose them, because then they'll just blow you out of the sky. Like, there are so many things that they should have tried and thought about, like build an army. Like, he should be reaching out to all of his contacts and trying to work out who he can get on his side, talk to the Vulcans, talk to the Klingons, like, get some help. Don't just go to Earth and say, hey, Starfleet, you have all of the power. What's going on?
Yeah.
It's such a dumb plan.
Yeah. I don't know. It seems like, I mean, the show is going to have us get to wherever it's going to get in the way that it gets there. But if they were already under observation, it seems risky to give them access to this information and assume that there's enough bugs out there to prevent Picard having any other ally that he can trust in, you know. So, but yeah, I don't think it's the biggest sin for me, and I'll tell you what the biggest sin is next.
My next one, I think if we stay in the bad guys plan, it's just so elaborate. The stuff with Picard is so elaborate when you get to the end. Like, yes, it's dumb that Picard beams down there alone, but he's still trying to hide his hand a little bit. But the aliens, they have like cocktails with him. They're just like, all of this bantering with the captain has made me rather hungry. Bring on the worms. And all of that just to do your worm reveal. It's like, well, like, this is important. It's the flagship, people. Just tie him up. Just do your Vulcan neck pinch. Why are you doing cocktails and an aperitif? Like, just fucking get on with it.
Yeah. The
theatrics or not, get on with it.
They just don't seem very scary once you start to think about how dumb they are.
Yeah.
But
which just contradicts how smart they've been by moving these chess pieces for months and months and months and making calculated moves that are imperceptible but still get them to the end goal of infiltrating Starfleet.
Yeah, and it just so happens
up to the point of being dumb.
Right, and our team just happens to be the ones that solves this mystery. And our team is dumb. Picard is suspicious of Quinn, pulls Riker aside to tell him he's suspicious of Quinn while letting Quinn roam free. Stop him right there. Put him in the brig. Look in the briefcase. Suddenly you've discovered the alien. Scan the alien. Ask questions. Figure it out. Scan the guy. Like, none of these people have been scanned in such a way that this has been discovered, because, you know, Beverly, who is amazing, does figure it out, but certainly there's other people who could have figured it out as well. Yeah,
you would think. These aliens are perfectly immune to scanning and transporting.
That's the biggest sin for me.
Yeah. No, I get it, definitely. We've done the big ones for me. There's a really great silly one when Picard is woken up in his quarters with the code 47 or whatever it is. He goes over to get a glass of water, and the glass that he pours the water into is the same size as the glass that the water came from. Like, he takes the lid off and the two glasses are identical, and he just pours it in and then puts the lid. Just drink from the thing with the lid.
My God, that's really funny. I didn't notice that.
It's great. I've only noticed it this time around. I was like, that is just an exercise in futility. Like, it's just to give him something to do, I guess.
Holy shit, that's funny. Oh my
amazing.
God. The next one for me is like the scan is of this creature, that's got like this little breather section just sticking out so that it can have oxygen. But then it's attached to like the cervical spine, essentially. Like, how much neck flesh do we need to cover this bulbous mass that is right at the back? Like, you can reach back and touch and feel your cervical spine. There is not a lot of tissue back there. Everyone who has one of these things, not only, like, to your point, has a little spike sticking out, but would also have the bulbous thing. Now, we see this a lot for people who have a hunched forward neck, like they're just constantly looking forward, so they'll have like a little hump thing going on back there. This is though accommodates a tiny little scorpion. Yeah. And we would see it.
I love that's the ambassador's MO is looking for neck trauma and how it affects your spine and posture.
You have no idea. I do this all the time. I'm looking at body posture every single day, all the time.
That's amazing. We need a segment on that. This is just a little one, but when Data is away studying, his chair on the bridge is vacant the entire time. Instead of being replaced, Geordi has nobody to tell his naughty jokes to. It's just an empty chair until Data returns. Couldn't afford an extra, apparently.
Oh. Yeah, it was all going into the CG, or not the CGI, but the special effects.
And the stop motion. We didn't even talk about the fact that it was stop motion. The little scorpion bug crawling across the floor.
Yeah, they really had to be like, you're going to sit still for like the next 10 minutes while we just slowly move this thing across the floor.
And up your leg.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
I didn't mind it, though. I love that stuff.
I think it's great. It's obviously fake, but it's fun. I like it. Anything else, Ambassador?
I think there's some technical stuff that I wrote down, but I don't know that it's true. But wouldn't the teleportation know that two creatures beamed over when Quinn comes?
Yeah, it's really convenient. They're immune to transporters. I guess bioengineered to be immune to transporters or not detected. Yeah, it's a MacGuffin.
Okay, yeah.
Biological MacGuffin.
Another one is just Riker clearly seeing that this admiral is superpower and evil, and he doesn't immediately call for backup.
Mm-hmm. I can take it.
He wants to kick. Maybe that's it. Wanting to kick this bad.
Kung Fu. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I even wrote down, call for help, you fucking dumbass.
Don't you talk to Riker like that?
And they were like, high kick, swing.
That's amazing.
Here's another note of mine. Picard takes a drink like an idiot. This is a terrible plan.
Everything about this is terrible. I mean, when Beverly is like, you need to shoot to kill, he's like, one does not beam down to Starfleet headquarters with a phaser. Yes, you do.
Yes, you do.
You do when it's
you do. Riker does.
Down to you.
Riker did it.
Yeah, Riker did.
Why couldn't you do it?
That's brilliant.
So fucking stupid.
Speaking of phasers, my last main sin was that this painting survives a full phaser blast, and this is when the Admiral shoots that painting behind Riker and Picard in Starfleet HQ, and it's like a beautiful picture of Saturn or Jupiter or something. Full phaser blast, no damage at all. Sparks fly off of the painting. Like, what did they make that painting out of for it to survive that? I wanted to see the painting get vaporized.
Yeah.
Picard and Riker should have been like, no big deal. The painting's fine. Shoot me. I can take it.
How about this moment? Picard realizes he's in trouble because they're eating mealworms, okay?
Mm-hmm.
He stands up and he slowly backs away. Just beam out.
Beam me out. I wondered about that. Like, there is a delay, and maybe he's worried that if he goes for his comm badge, it will trigger. He must think he has a better chance of getting out the door than getting beamed up. I don't.
Just beam out.
I don't know. I mean, to be fair, where's Deanna? She should sense, just like I would say, Deanna, lock onto my feelings. You know me. As soon as I start to panic and my heart rate
there
spikes,
you go.
tell them to beam me up.
Yeah, you're monitoring all of my body from because they can do all the scans and stuff. It's like, oh, the captain is sweating. That's abnormal.
Yeah, he
or
is
just listen
panicking
in the
right now.
conversation. Fucking keep your comm badge open.
Yes, keep it open. Oh boy, easily avoidable. So avoidable. Anything else, Ambassador?
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen how they all have super strength, but when Picard is about to be shot by the Captain Scott, the woman, he just easily just moves her hand. So I thought that was very convenient. Like,
very good point.
Okay.
She's put off balance very easily.
I suppose so. My last note was, how dare this episode end this way? What the fuck? That was my last note.
With the beacon or with the vaporizing?
The beacon. Yeah.
Oh boy. And this was the second to last episode of the season. So it was definitely like it was thinking about what are we going to do in season 2.
I do have 3 questions though before we hit to the end, but I'm done with my sins. Okay.
Hit me.
There's a moment whenever, Picard wakes up for this message 47 or whatever it's called. And he says, okay, pipe it through. Isn't that what Kirk said?
Yeah, Kirk
Doesn't
says
he
pipe
say
it through.
pipe it down?
Yeah. Pipe it down,
or pipe it
me into
through?
engineering. Yeah, pipe it through, pipe it up, pipe it down.
I would have never thought that could have been written in the script purposefully.
Yes.
As just something that has continued to stay on through the years because of this sort of like naval vibe, right? Like these warship kind of terminologies where the show sort of pulled its inspiration from. And then I would have never thought that pipe it through would be something that Captain Picard would say, because it would be something different. And like my futuristic mind with all this other, all the other shows I've watched and just different terminology that's existed, you would think like scan it over or it's just these, but even that will become obsolete.
Beam it down. Beam it in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
So the fact that he said pipe it through was something that just stood out to me.
That's so interesting. That's why I love your perspective on this. I never would have. I didn't give that a second thought. It's just in the language for me.
The other one is I wondered if we ever see Captain Tryla Scott again. This is a person who has gotten to captain faster than anyone in history.
Nah, 1 episode memory.
That's
never
it?
again. Yeah.
Jesus Christ, what a failure.
Never see her again.
What
and
a
she's
failure.
great. She's like just ballsy. She's just like, that was a terrible way to describe her because she's a woman. She's incredible. Like she's just like, yeah, I am that good. I absolutely want to see more of her.
I would love to see more of that. That's sad. That makes me sad.
Yeah.
And then didn't we see something like this where the changelings were imitating people?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the whole thing the changelings do in Deep Space Nine and in Picard.
Was that the episode that we watched? No, we watched the wedding episode. What was the episode that I would have seen where I have this memory of people being impersonated in high up people and they couldn't be trusted but they couldn't remember important pieces of information. And that's what gave it away. Was that in Star Trek?
Well, there was Picard season 3 where that happens a lot. Because there's like Commander Tuvok has been replaced by a changeling.
Yeah, that's it.
Rogue comes on board and is worried that people are making dodgy decisions, and she's like, you can't trust anybody. And eventually they figure out it's the changelings that are behind it. Yeah,
that's right. Okay,
and they're just making sketchy command decisions.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, this sounds familiar.
Well, they do it again in Deep Space Nine. Like when they introduce the changelings, Sisko goes back to Earth because they're worried that changelings have infiltrated Starfleet again and just replaced people. So yeah, it is an interesting storyline. Like it is interesting to think about. It's just not something you want to wrap up in 45 minutes.
No,
it's too big.
It's not. But I don't know. It wasn't horrible. It was just a lot.
Yeah, it could be so much more. Yeah,
it was just a lot. Yeah. I think that was my last one. I just wanted to ask. Nope, that was it. That was the 3. It was if we saw the captain again, if we think the pipe it in was on purpose, and then that
nice.
Like, haven't we seen the storyline recently? Because I couldn't remember. Yeah.
Well, I was a little bit hesitant when we got 25 minutes in, and I was like, the monster doesn't actually turn up. Until, for some reason, I thought this. I remember the bug appearing quicker, but a lot of this happens in the back end of the episode. But I'm standing by it because they are a Star Trek monster. They are well known, even if they don't appear very much. Next week, we're going to continue the monster medley with Skin of Evil. This is season 1, episode 23 of TNG. Now, this monster does appear for the entire episode, and I am super excited to show you this episode, and I don't think you'll be okay at the end of it either. So,
Great.
if you want to reach out to us, join the CinemaSins Discord and head over to the Captain's Pod channel. It's discord.gg/CinemaSins. Send us an email at captainspod. captainspod@cinemasins.com. On Twitter /X, we are captainspodcs. We love receiving your messages. We love interacting with you and love hearing how you're interacting with the pod, how you're watching it, how you're rewatching episodes and re-listening to the show. You guys are all the best. Have an incredible new year. Any New Year's messages before we sign off, Ambassador?
Yeah, I think my sign-off will be the New Year's message.
Oh, I love it. Well, in that case, I'm Captain Ian, and I'm off for some shore leave on Pacifica.
And it's friendship must dare to risk, or it is not friendship.
Oh, I love that, especially as your dogs are proclaiming their friendship in the background.
They just won't stop.
Live long and pause, per.
Oh, wah, wah, wah.
Thanks for listening. Want to connect with the show? Our hailing frequencies are always open through captainspod@cinemasins.com. Like, comment, and subscribe on your podcast player of choice, and be sure to visit cinemasins.com.
I was trying to, you know how I do my intro is for you is like something relating to the episode we did the previous week?
Yeah, but we're doing something different this week. So what's it going to be now, bud?
No, it's going to be from that episode. You just won't understand the reference yet.
The one that we're going to watch?
It's going to be from the episode that we'll have released before this week that we haven't recorded yet.
Oh, so we're tricking people like they won't know.
They won't know. I mean, I'm based on previous form, I think we'll give it away immediately, but
Why is my audio so fucking quiet? I don't understand. Yeah, I just don't understand why it's so fucking quiet. Like it is.
It's really annoying, isn't it?
Yeah, and it just keeps happening.
Dumb.
10 of these things.
10 of these things.
10 of these things.
10 of these things.
I came to my computer to record today and apparently left my Minecraft on from when we gamed several days ago. It's just still on. It's just my character's just existing over there in the world somewhere. So of course that meant that I didn't actually stay focused on what I was supposed to do, but rather started playing Minecraft. Cats are cool.
Cats are really cool and adorable. They I feel like they are so much more intelligent than dogs. I feel like I am holding a conversation with a cat.
Interesting.
A dog is like waiting for its next command.
I don't know. I can't read cats like I can read dogs. There's something like when the Dog Whisperer show came out, people would be like, "That's like you, Deneé," because I just like I get them, and maybe that just means I'm not as smart as you.
I think that's what it is. I think that's the takeaway. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the takeaway.
Dog people are dumber than cat people.
Yes. Yeah, probably so.
The more you know.
There's also people who are using those communication buttons for dogs, but they're using them for cats as well.
Not gonna work.
Yeah. I haven't watched as many.
Yeah.
But I did get back into the button videos on like Instagram Shorts or something. And there's these people that have given their dog like 4 or 5 buttons, and that's it. And it's like, yes, bitch. and like they've made them really sassy.
No,
so
sassy
like,
dogs.
Treat me, you fucker. Like just it's super sassy.
Yeah.
And it's just like this little tiny little adorable dog. Just like cursing.
Open the door, dick.
And it's only a few commands. That's it.
I think Twix would do really well with water, food, outside, love.
Yes.
Love.
They're both just super obsessed with being touched.
They are.
Yeah. I kind of like, I feel like I failed them as a trainer in some ways, but then in other ways, their like wildness that I haven't trained out of them delights me. Like one of the things they should not do that is absolutely adorable to me is when someone sits down at the dinner table and they both come over and kind of put their front paws in their lap, but then their heads pop up because I have like a higher table. So it's more of like a bar height table than a lower table. So all of a sudden they're just, both of their heads just appear like, imagine baby birds when they're trying to get food from mama and they're all just like vying for attention. It's two fluffy twin dog heads, one a dark color, one a light color, just absolutely fighting for the attention and love of the person that they're both trying to like get in their space.
A little sideways head just trying to lick the table. Just
no, they don't lick. They want love.
They want food.
Want all of the love. They want
my food.
love.
They want my food.
And also, okay, maybe a little food. A little food, but much love.
I need to let you know about a pattern that is forming. I spent some time with your daughter Iris, and she was telling me an incredible story.
Thank you for babysitting, by the way.
Of course. She told me 2 stories. Both of them ended with the Enterprise arriving to save the day. And one of them, the bad guys captured the Enterprise and renamed it. I can't remember what they renamed it. It was something like the Junkyard or something. And I could see the cogs turning, and she didn't know how to get out of the story. So she was like, it was all a dream. They woke up and it was fine. And I was like, yeah, that's why we sing that, because it's where a 6-year-old goes to end the story.
Oh my gosh.
But yes, the pattern is the Enterprise saves the day, just in case that comes up at some point.
There is a reason that she is thinking strongly about the Enterprise.
Yes.
And you know that reason.
Yes, I do.
But the podcast audience doesn't know the reason yet, but we will reveal that soon.
Yes.
But yes. Did your heart melt,
great.
as this little tiny person's just like making up stories about the Enterprise?
It's the best. Like it's Inception, because she'll know about the Enterprise. She's seen pictures of it. And then one day
she's seen your tattoo.
She's seen my tattoo. Then one day she'll see it on TV and be like, I know that ship. And bam, that's the gateway drug to being a Trekkie. She's already a Trekkie. She doesn't even realize it's in a TV show yet.
Yep. That's how it works.
That's how it works.
That's how it goes.
Yeah. It's fun to start an origin story.
It's fun to indoctrinate children.
I think so. Of all the things to be indoctrinated into, Star Trek's a good one.
Yeah.
That's one of the good cults. That's what I was told. Speaking of back in the day, I was also, again, talking to Iris, and I thought, I'm going to see if this is going to blow her mind. And I said, did you know that back in when I was younger, we couldn't pause TV shows, and we couldn't really pick the TV show. We would just, whatever was on that channel, that's what we had to watch. And she stopped what she was drawing, put her pen down, and was like, what did you do? And we just watched what was on TV. And she was like, why?
Man, Netflix, that app on the TV is dangerous.
It's crazy.
It immediately starts playing a show. It's like a little trailer. And then it immediately plays the next one. So she has no choice but to watch a 20-second clip of whatever is there, and she just gets sucked in. We have rules about that. You have to think about what you want to watch, then go to it immediately and not get distracted, because I mean, if she's going to be anything like me, it's going to be just a world of going, I walked into this room. Why do I exist?
6 hours later, what was I doing? Oh, well, TV's still on.
My favorite conversation I've heard you have with her so far was you guys were playing, I think, Uno together.
Okay. Yeah. We did a lot of Uno.
She made a mess. You were explaining that, it was her mess. You would help clean it, but she had to kind of do her part. And she straight up goes, Ian, that's not how it works around here. I make a mess and mommy cleans it up. I was like, oh my God.
Like, this is how it goes. I make the mess. Mummy cleans it. I don't have to deal with this. So why am I having to tidy up my cards?
It wouldn't be any surprise that the next day we were chatting and she did something and I said, okay, it's time to clean up the mess. And she's like, well, why don't you do it? And I looked at her, having heard her say that, knowing that she confidently, fully believes I exist to clean up after her. And I said, I am not on this planet to clean up after you. And she just looks at me like, wow, what are you here for then?
What function do you serve then? I am recording.